Set. Here we go. All right, so begin the meeting. Looking for approval of the meeting minutes from October 5th.
So moved.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Passed. All right, at this time, we have a couple of things to report. I guess the subcommittee met and we've put together really a draft version of a presentation, so that the committee can review, take a look at. In addition, we got a report back on costs for the estimated, cost for the Russo field, which is great. And then we'll go from there. So I don't know if you want to start.
Yeah.
Any updates?
I guess just some updates from last time. Go to the Howard property and test out. It's also in the presentation. We think we figured out a good location for the pickleball courts. And on this version, I just brought this to show the committee. We're showing the septic lines that are all in there, so you can see the constraints we're up against. So we tried a few different locations around here, but every one kind of went over the septic lines or conflicted with them. But if we go over the west here, yeah, that's the Council on Aging. Yep. And then Howard School's over here on the right. And so we found this kind of open area off to the left. It goes over the property line a little bit, but it's still town property on that side.
Mm-hmm.
So we folded this into the plans.
So these
in
are
the
just
presentation.
separate parcels that the town owns?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's on that side, the fire station?
Is
Correct,
that
that's
the
the public
Oh, the
safety,
fire
so
Public
just to
fire
the left,
police.
you're looking at the
Yeah.
9/11 Memorial
Mhm.
Park,
Got it.
and then it opens up to the parking lot, so yes, we own that property.
So would you have to take down a lot of trees, or are there a lot of trees underneath this?
There, it's about, I want to say a quarter of this is
Oh, that's
into
not
the
too
tree line, and it's a lot of scrub
Okay.
and
I
small
much of any
trees and
size there.
stuff, yeah.
I walked it the other day, and the first
Yeah.
10, 12 feet is all low-lying scrub type stuff, like he said. So
Okay.
it doesn't really become mature trees until a little bit past that.
Well, that's
Mm.
good, though. It's not too bad, right?
Yeah.
It's
So
actually
it's
a
not
nice
bad.
little piece of property if you
Yeah.
want it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing we did was 3D images of these, of the two sites, the Howard site and I'm sorry, the machine stapled it in the lower right. So we had put together a presentation, also, didn't realize the committee was putting one together too, so those are there's a high school site, and then the 3D rendering, and then the Howard site, the 3D rendering.
So that baseball
it's-
field's not encroaching on the parking lot, like that's not taking any spaces out of the high
No,
school
no.
parking lot, right?
No, it's just the
It's just an
open
overlay.
space.
It's like in the same footprint, so.
These look really nice,
It looks nice, I will
Yeah,
say.
they're good.
really nice,
Yeah, thanks.
very
Yeah,
nice.
they fit in there nicely. We were able to get, again, some Google,
Yep.
bird's eye type images
Mm.
for both sites. So. And we,
Good.
this is kind of showing the location of those courts in Howard. We'd probably work on some pathways there too, but that can get refined.
You mean like
later on? Yeah, pathways
Going
to the courts,
pickleball
yeah.
court from the
Yeah.
council
Yeah,
on
from
Aging,
the
or from
parking
the
lot
parking
and
lot?
from the council on aging.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was disappointed. I
So-
walked it the other day, and it was a little bit of a landmine of people walking dogs not picking up after them.
Oh, jeez.
So it'd be
Yeah.
really nice to have some type of a walkway there.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, it's kind of a pseudo dog park over there.
Man,
It's kind of sad that people.
it
Yeah.
is.
So then, and we put together a presentation too, and it just basically walks through the intergenerational park with the plan and then the perspective. Then it goes to the high school, the high school perspective, the Howard School, Council on Aging, and then that perspective. And then we'll have a cost slide And the one I've passed out is the updated one. The one in the presentation is a little older. And then I don't know if we need another cost summary slide, but we can see what you guys prepared. And then a schedule that we haven't like formalized the schedule, so
That's a good idea, we should find that,
maybe just a rough schedule.
But there were dates in the back of it.
that's for lead
Oh,
up to the
schedule.
vote.
Gotcha.
I think
Afterwards.
you're referring to construction.
Yeah, like just what's the timeline from here on?
Right.
You know, starting at town
To finish.
town meeting, you know, maybe council meeting, then town meeting.
Realistically, we would go out to bid in the spring. You think that usable in the fall of 2023?
It'd be tough, cause the spring bid's late, it'd probably be spring of '24.
Cricket.
Just cause of the timeline already for bidding, like we're bidding stuff now that's gonna get started in like March. And those we're hoping get done by next fall,
But that's
Like-
okay.
August, September.
Which gives us a
So-
little wiggle room too, David, because if it's not gonna be done by, mid-October at the latest, we're into
Yeah.
April at that point, so it's not, unless there's a miracle, it's a little less of a rush on the timeline if it's not gonna be done by November.
I mean, if you put out certain expectations and then you beat them, it's probably a little better. Like
The
if,
other way.
it could say it's possible you could have a synthetic turf field down, like you said, in October. And then maybe get a little bit of use out of it, and then maybe some winter use if it's a mild winter.
Yeah.
But I think if we put use spring of '24 and then we deliver a little early,
Sounds reasonable.
look
Yeah,
better,
absolutely.
Yeah.
especially with supply chain and so forth.
And
And
there
we're-
would be an opportunity for the, food pantry to, like, get in there earlier or something, or
Yeah,
would that come last?
possibly, yeah. No, they'd be all on the same construction schedule, so it just depends on how quickly you could get a building built out there,
Okay.
so. Let's see, and then then at the back is the intergenerational park with the building, with the field house building on it, and then the rendering again. And then details of the building. So,
Oh, this is the original one we had with the gymnasium.
Just a tease.
I would put it
so
there.
you could,
No, I know.
Yeah.
No, I
Yeah.
agree. I mean,
Should be
you
there.
know, it was, when we first started, it was like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, but it's
it's nice.
the
It's
part two you could fundraise for, right? Or
Yeah, right, exactly.
town rate.
Sell some organs.
Yeah,
Maybe
But we
something
also
else at the town
spent-
meeting, it says let's do the whole thing.
We also spent as a committee considerable amount of time on that. And I think
Yeah.
it's important for residents to know that we didn't just bypass it, we didn't go immediately to where we ended up. We've spent, almost 2 years through this process. By looking at all those different options, hopefully people in town will be able to see, we looked at multiple iterations, and we're doing our best to balance what we need plus what we can afford.
Yeah, good point.
And if the town wants to go for it, the town can go for it.
That's right.
That'd be very interesting.
Yeah,
That
it
would
sounds
be
like
very
you get up at the
interesting.
meeting and
Yeah,
ask
it'll
to
be
have it
there.
put in.
But that has been the biggest question I've been asked, is what
Yeah,
happens
same.
to basketball, so.
Basketball.
So we explain what we thought, and if somebody thinks they can, maybe we can get the
Maybe
vote that night, they could add it back in.
Maybe somebody would donate the funding.
Is there a rule
Turner Steel, I heard, is gonna,
in the
the
setup
Turner Steel
in
field
case
does?
in 5-6 years they want to put in a basketball?
Yeah, it's the same footprint.
Yeah.
The issue is gonna be that at town meeting, we can't just simply say, hey, let's add something. It has to be on the warrant.
Right.
So that's why Anthony had the suggestion, I thought it was a good one, that we have our public hearing on the 14th, and the selectmen then will vote, they normally meet the 16th, but they're gonna meet the 15th. They will then vote on placing the warrant articles. Because if we receive an abundance of feedback at the public hearing, we want that building, we can add that warrant article. If
Do
we
you add a separate article though, so that it's not all live or die here?
Correct, exactly. So we would add it. But if the feedback is overwhelmingly or a majority not gonna happen, then we don't have to add that warrant article. But it gives us additional flexibility by doing the
So
public hearing
in
first.
adding that, wouldn't that, then in fact have a deduction on the first article? In other words, we're going for the way we've planned it now, at X amount of dollars, and then you have the second warrant.
You wouldn't have the
Building.
pickleball courts, the basketball court, and
Right,
the
so then
little,
let's say, it's a yes on both, then there would be, should we mention some sort of a deduct on,
Yeah, so quite frankly, I think the way we would write it, I think Article 1, if the building is going to be on there with the gymnasium, that means we received overwhelmingly positive feedback at the public hearing. So I would have that as Article 1. So Article 2 will be the same project without the building, so it'll be the cost difference between the two.
okay.
So if Article 1 passes, we
Pass on
you
two.
pass on 2, you go straight to 3.
Okay,
Oh, I
Yeah,
see
that
what you're
makes
saying,
sense.
I got you.
Mhm.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
thanks for coming.
Yeah.
First one that said they don't
Adjourn.
So you have more technical in
Yeah, so we,
presentation you put together.
yeah, we, a few of us got together and threw that together. It's on the, it's after the agenda, and obviously I think we can marry a
That's what I
bunch
was
of this
thinking.
information as we look at it,
Yeah,
and get together again, because I think we didn't get into the, we didn't get into, some of your details are better than our non-details. But we wanted to get something to put in front of this committee tonight, just to discuss, like, this is all open, this is all, we couldn't sit together and do it as a large group, we would have not moved forward at a
yeah.
pace that would have been acceptable. So and again, this is not necessarily a finished product, but just a draft for discussion. Conceptually, we want to talk about who we are, what we've identified as the problem, the solutions we've come up to address the problem. Obviously, talk about the costs, when we would vote, things along those lines, and then obviously the tax impact as well. I think the thing that we didn't have on here, that through conversations and just thinking about this, is to include something along the lines of operating costs as well. And I don't know if there's something else that we're missing, but that's where it might be good that some of you haven't been with us through the paper process here to get a fresh set.
Yeah, I think
Chris and Tim always find something in a good way that we're missing. So
but I think Mike made a good point about also having an outline of timing post-vote.
Also, one thing that we, us four had discussed when we met, was if the question comes up as who's gonna be, let's say, not in charge of, facilities or maintenance, but like who
who's gonna
says.
govern the facility, right?
Yes, thanks.
Yep.
That
What's
makes,
it gonna fall under
Yeah. Who, when
for maintenance?
football and
supervisor?
soccer
Yeah.
wanna play at the same time,
Mhm.
Oh, so you need a
who
governance
makes
structure.
that?
yeah, so football would go first, I think.
Just take the field,
I think
storm the field.
I think
Say.
pickleball.
Hey, we got everything over there.
Just kidding.
So the next page comes straight out of our first presentation to the town. Tim, I took a chance at your name, there's 6 whole letters there, so I hope I got it right.
Did he pass?
If I didn't, take me off this committee. And then into sort of just, and we wanted to keep this, our thought as a little group as we put this together, was to keep it just sort of high and to the points, to get through 10, 15 slides, there's pictures, so maybe there's more than that, but, just some slides at a high level, and then really open up for questions that everybody will have.
So-
Try to answer some questions and go from there.
Is there a bullet point that we had talked about, and maybe I'm not remembering correctly, but, that there are some cases, some sports that we currently cannot accommodate all the applicants?
Yep.
And would we
Mhm.
want to include that in here?
We had
I
that,
thought we did, didn't we?
I kind of,
Yeah, is it slide 6?
Is it down further?
I mean, it just alludes to the fact on the third bullet point, football, lacrosse, field hockey are all played inside of soccer fields.
Okay,
And we could speak to that during the presentation to say, one of the thoughts is that, youth sports would start to offer lacrosse or field hockey if these,
Okay.
at least explore the possibility. I don't wanna commit to it.
Yep.
because have
Yeah,
to
and
discuss
also,
it, but.
kind of the last point on the problem too, and again, we'll change this, if it's not clear, we should fix it. But just saying that high school sports are limited in growth due to the lack of facilities as well.
Right.
Okay. That makes sense.
So I think, you know, in identifying the problem, it's simple, the town has grown and is growing like mad at the moment.
Yeah.
You know, I think we forecasted 100 additional homes in the next few years. I don't think that's a stretch from any situation, any prediction. We haven't really increased facilities or changed anything.
We had 7,000 yet?
7,700.
Is that,
Yep.
Look,
must have fell
Where you
asleep for a few
been?
years. Yeah.
I made a presentation to the selectmen the other night that your 2030 census, I expect you to hit 10,000.
Really?
And is that with the growth that we know is already in progress and what you anticipate might be coming down the pipe?
It's actually only 2 items. It's what I know is currently in the pipeline, meaning permitted, and what I know is coming. So nothing else above and beyond that.
Mhm.
And the state is requiring a cluster zoning area of each municipality in this area of the state. Has to be approved at town meeting, so we'll make a presentation. Assuming that that's approved, we will be required to zone for and allow a by right development of 750 housing units in a 50-acre parcel,
Yikes.
which, I just do the math, 750 times 2 is 1,500.
Mhm.
If you're at 8,000 right now, you're at 9,500, that doesn't include any new buildings.
Mhm.
So 10 grand is literally, unless you guys shoot that 750 unit down, which you may, but if that passes, or the state eventually really forces the issue, because they're gonna try to force it,
Mm-hmm.
10,000 is a shoo-in. You might be at 11.
Mm.
More schools?
Correct. No, it's gonna be more everything. I mean,
Yeah.
more roads to plow.
Yep. Not for you.
Okay then.
Jeff, one question on the chart. Do you think we'd be able to get the high school numbers prior to the meeting on the 14th?
Yeah, if that's, let me just go through the left and then,
Yeah,
and then get, I'm
absolutely,
sorry,
sorry.
not to, so I just wanna, you know, we're talking, that nothing's really been added. The only thing that I know have been added, and there's some people that have been in town longer than me over the last 20 years, is the Sullivan Field. I can't identify another, and I wanna make sure that's accurate. I can't identify another, like, facility.
In fact, we've lost fields because when the new high school was built, we lost the field hockey field, which used to be up against the tennis courts,
And the outfield was.
and there was a JV baseball field. So that's a
Okay.
reduction
There was a
of,
JV baseball.
yep, right where the
Mhm.
varsity field is right
Near
now.
spring, right?
First plate was, first plate was home plate, right in that corner right there, and that was the JV field. And the varsity field was over next to
Yeah,
Spring
right
Street,
behind, yeah.
And we lost the basketball courts in the back too.
and the basketball courts, yeah.
All right, so we've gone backwards. Well, population's increased.
Not only are
Um,
there new additional, we've lost some.
So we identified maintenance as an issue largely due to the overuse of the fields. Flooding and drainage has made some challenges, you know, both on Lower Howard, if you will, and the baseball field, to highlight a couple. And then field time is limited just due to the volume of players and the number of teams and, you know, the balance that high school does. You know, I think our football team on a quote-unquote normal night is limited to maybe 2 hours practice, which I think any football coach would take more
And
than
they
2.
share the field.
Right.
Nicely enough, they share the field with us.
Yeah.
So they're only doing 50 yards. Tonight, they kicked us off the field completely.
Good.
We're on Spring Street in the Howard septic tank, the leaching
Okay,
field.
so
So,
So obviously, those are the issues. I think, you know, that's part of the reason I think why the town voted for the land in the first place. But just to reiterate them, and then we've got GLEG. This is a GLEG chart. Glenn
we kept
and
them
Greg.
separately so you wouldn't say that.
You know, I was gonna say it.
I know.
So a chart here, that, pick one or the other, and I'm probably leaning towards the top, but just to identify how many athletes are on these fields currently. If I don't have an issue, but if I had an issue at the top, it just doesn't have a reference point.
Right.
You know, like what, compared to what? Okay, so we've got 1,800 athletes on the
Yeah.
field.
Do we have any sense population-wise how many children?
I can't really give you a hard, fast rule, except that I can tell you the 89, 90 homes being built off of Scotland Street are all 3 and 4 bedroom homes.
Mhm.
So almost every one of them require children.
Yeah,
The 24 apartments that are permanent, that are gonna be built up on Route 106, 11 of them are 1 bedrooms, 11 are 2 bedrooms, and 1 is a 3 bedroom. So you'll have a smattering of children from there. You have 54 apartments being built up off of Matfield Street. Almost, I think they're all 2s and 3s. And then whatever else comes down, comes forward.
yeah. Yeah, because I mean, the numbers I put together were unique, meaning, you know, if they played fall soccer and spring soccer, they were only counted once. So it was surprising to me when I did the exercise to see that there was, you know, 450 kids playing soccer in the past year.
I mean, the part that really scares me is this new zoning requirement from the state at 750 housing units.
Yeah.
Let's assume they're just 2-bedroom units. If you add just 1 child on average, you just increase your school population by 50%.
Yeah,
Because I mean, you only have 13
that's
students,
a lot.
Right.
right? So that's kind of ridiculous, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's an unfair mandate from the state that they're not gonna pay for. With that said, that's just one,
Right.
and that doesn't include any other development. So I think it's very reasonable to think that over the next 8 or 9 years, you're gonna potentially see 1,000 new school-age kids in West Bridgewater.
Now, will that eventually squish out school choice?
It's
Yeah, I
gotta.
don't-
Yeah.
You don't know we don't know what the percentage of school choice kids is.
It's
School
like
system, do we?
280, I
Yeah,
think
that
now.
About 1/6.
$1.5 million.
I mean, the reality is that your new senior high school is already gonna be obsolete.
You tear it down and put fields there.
You take the 7th and 8th grade out and you move the 7th and 8th graders, make that a high school.
Yeah, no, it's
That's what
very-
you'd have to do.
It's very unfortunate. I mean, that'll be part of our presentation at town meeting with this, with the new zoning, because it's a real decision you guys are gonna have to make.
So I don't know if we try to estimate, I'm back on the chart, but, you know, do we try to estimate future numbers? Do we talk about how much it's grown in the last 5 years, or do we just put down that, you know, collectively there's 1,500, 1,600 people,
I think
athletes?
it-
For
it's
the
a-
YA stuff, can't we just throw a number together from the website for previous years for like?
We can do
total of-
prior years for sure. That, you know, take a little bit of work, but it's definitely doable if we wanna go down that road. I go back and forth, cause you and I were talking about this the other day too.
Yeah.
I don't wanna just pound people with numbers as
Numbers,
well. I mean,
yeah.
that's the other thing, like, do we keep it high level and speak to it maybe, and maybe not have it, I'm open either way. I just don't wanna pound them with numbers.
Or throw out a percentage of what things have increased in.
Or decrease, you know, you look at
Or
baseball,
decrease.
baseball numbers have been steady to declining, and so.
Or you
know,
put it together as a whole, like all WBYA sports have X amount of kids, and it's increased X percentage over X amount of years too, you can
Mhm.
do that. Cause there are a lot of sports in YA, to break them all up would be tough.
Yeah, maybe just do an overall, like, you know, the total increase or something.
And also, I mean,
If
to
it's
your
too
point,
busy.
it might make sense even to just speak to what our projections are based on population growth as to what we expected to see, knowing what the population is now. That might be something worthwhile, even if it's on on the side as a bullet point.
Yeah, you could do a projected percentage of increase in athletics in the youth, on the youth aspect as a percentage
Right.
as a whole, and that would just,
Yeah.
Is it more valuable to have the projections than to look even
That's
past,
the
right?
thought is, looking
Yeah.
looking forward rather
Yeah.
than back. And
Yeah,
What do people, I mean, not that we need a vote, but projections seem to make more sense to people, or?
I feel like they do. And I'm not sure you need to break them out by YB, YA, high school, like maybe just do the total if, you know.
Out of curiosity, would you be able to quickly say, over a 10-year snapshot, what your increase in of kids are?
No,
Yeah.
it'll take time.
in athletics, in the youth athletics.
Yeah.
Well, I've only been in the football realm for 5 or 6 years, and this is it goes up and down every year depending on the squad. It's been pretty similar the last 4 or 5 years, but this year's increased, and I think we're gonna see it increase even more, only because the program has just gotten better.
And again, if you had the facilities
And we're offering
Right.
to
it
be able to grow it, would it grow?
It would
Yes.
definitely grow.
I mean,
We're now offering it, like, I'll take flag football, for example. When that started, I forget, it was 5 or 6 years ago, it was like 3rd through 8th. It was a very small amount of kids, like around 100. And each year it's increased, and now we're actually doing kindergarten through 8th. And it's up over in the 200s.
Mm.
Bill, the school has what, 2 or 3 younger grades that are 5 classroom now?
I think there's actually 3 now. I think. There's a bubble, there might be 3 bubble classes.
I think they added a kindergarten, right?
And
Last year.
even in the youth football, we're now, this year's, it's new for us, we now have a Mighty Mites program, whereas before we didn't. We had just 3 levels, 3rd grade through 8th grade, and this is the first year now we have 1st and 2nd. We have a new Mighty Mites program, which exploded. So that's like a whole nother team.
Yeah, we did the same for soccer. I mean, for years and years, town soccer in the fall was kindergarten and up, and we've actually gone U5 this year too, so we actually have
Is
preschool.
the 450, is that right down the middle, close to it, boys,
Boys,
girls?
girls, yeah, I
Yeah.
would say so.
Is it spring?
That's fall and spring.
Fall and spring.
Yeah.
But unique, right?
Unique, yep, that's 400.
Yeah,
Because, I know you took them out, but how many of the boys are football players in the fall
Right.
and soccer type of thing?
We do had some overlap though. I mean, there are some kids that play both football and soccer.
Yeah, the soccer kids don't usually pick one or the other at the youth level. They
Yeah,
usually
at the high
play
school.
both.
Yeah, I mean, we have one girl in our daughter's age group that plays football actually, but she also plays travel soccer as well,
Mhm.
so I
Yeah.
mean, there are.
If we're only going to have one grid, you might wanna just put a footnote at the bottom that each child's only counted
Yeah.
once, even if they
Mhm.
participate in multiple sports, just so people have that context.
Yeah, the same would be true with like softball. If we offer fall softball this year, I mean,
Yeah.
we're not counting the kid that played spring and fall.
It's a nice number,
Twice.
450, we cut down the middle, it's a great number.
It's a big number.
Especially a
Mhm.
small town like this,
Yeah.
it's a great number.
A lot of kids play soccer.
All right, so, looking for direction.
Yeah.
Do we leave the chart? Do we remove the chart? Do we do a projection in lieu of the current numbers? Or certainly start with the current numbers, but.
I mean, if you're only gonna do totals, you could do the sports and then a, current level and then projected level,
Yeah.
estimated population, 10,000 or something.
Yeah.
And then, you just use the percentage, like you were suggesting.
Yeah,
Because
it's
it's gonna
I think it's important the numbers are out there,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
people see how many kids are actually, people I think will be floored to think that there's
That
450 kids playing soccer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's another 187 that play basketball, and there's another 93 that are playing football. I mean, I'd bet you that a lot of people don't know there's that many kids in
In the
in
youth
town.
level, that doesn't
Yeah.
even include the high
That
school.
doesn't
numbers.
Exactly,
include
that's
the
all
high
the high
school.
school kids,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
exactly right,
It,
so I
it
think it's
surprises
important
me,
that they're in.
cause I'm not close to this,
Yeah.
it surprises me.
Well, it also supports, when we're talking about, the loss of the basketball field house there, when you look at the numbers, I was very bummed about the basketball side and made some pushes to say, let's just make it a big basketball facility, but to everyone else's point, when you look at the numbers, it's
Sports soccer
it's more
first.
than double. I mean, the numbers are more than double, and with basketball, we offer it all the way through high school at the boys level. I mean, we have high school players playing youth basketball still, so that we don't have that with virtual. I mean, spring soccer a little bit, but most years not that many kids.
Bill, can you try to get numbers for the end?
Yep.
Get current numbers for the high school. We've got football and,
I can give you the field hockey's 27. I can give you that number.
Pencil that one in.
27.
Thank you.
And I put when I put this together, just as a note too, both field hockey and lacrosse I put in there. Put lacrosse in there, A, to say we have 0. I mean, we don't have to Jeff's point on the sidebar, we don't offer it because we don't have the space for it. We'd like to offer it.
And
Same with field
do
hockey.
we have people asking for it that that
I-
it would be a
Lacrosse, I haven't had explicit conversations with people. I can say on the field hockey side, I already have a commissioner lined up if we offer
Want it tomorrow?
field hockey. I
So
mean,
tomorrow night.
they've been asking for a number of
For a
years, and
number
we
of
just don't
years.
have the space
Middle
for it.
school kids, would they be counted in any of your numbers, do we think, or no?
Absolutely. Well, some high
Yes.
school kids would be included
So we
as
wanna,
well.
we would just wanna count varsity JV kids and not count the middle school teams?
Yeah, because I have 7th and 8th graders in tackle football, cheer.
Yeah, seventh.
Yeah,
eighth,
there
nine,
was-
on
there
football.
would-
Yeah, JV varsity.
JV varsity numbers.
Yeah, there'll definitely be some overlap of kids in some of those sports,
Okay.
whether it's basketball, well, not so much in basketball, probably soccer would be the one, and football maybe a little bit too, where you might have.
Well, we
a
just
little
won't
bit of
count,
overlap.
is there middle school soccer?
There is not,
There isn't, okay.
but for spring travel, you could get high school kids playing.
Because I know there's middle school basketball, so we
Yeah.
wouldn't count the middle school kids there, so just varsity.
But there are
JV.
middle school kids playing,
Yeah, we'll
JV
just,
and varsity
Yes.
soccer.
we're gonna, we'll asterisk this as
Yeah,
an
we can-
estimate, you know what I mean? Best-
Yeah.
You're not
best-
gonna get
Each
it
organization can't line up every single kid
Right.
Yeah.
one for one. This is what we know these kids play.
Cool. Anything else on the problem slide?
No, I think it looks good.
Good. Talking about how we fixed it, I think we've been meeting since 2019, that's about when I could find an email
Yep.
back from. Talking about, we've toured every athletic facility in town, spent a couple years really identifying and honing the issues. Again, thinking this is the presentation for the town. Kind of our highlights, right, we're gonna increase the number of fields for youth sports. At the Russo complex, we're gonna increase the number of fields for the high school sports, at the middle senior high school, the baseball field, if you will. And then we're gonna go outside, we're gonna increase pickleball courts, basketball courts, and add an additional tennis court.
I think that's a spot you need to highlight, that we're not just addressing those youth athletic events.
Mhm.
It's, that population that's over the youth age is
Mhm.
only gonna get bigger as well.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I mean, not having tennis courts available, except at the high school, is gonna be a bummer to them, because they can't use it during school.
Yeah.
I mean, that
I
would
mean,
continue,
it's-
but at least they've got the pickleball
Right,
courts as part of that.
you're giving them
yeah.
something, you're giving them a basketball
Saving
court
their
that they can
knees
use
to-
at the
Right.
athletic
Yeah,
facility, so I
as
mean,
well as the
you're-
pickleball. Yeah,
right.
you're right.
On that
Yeah,
note,
you're
but
right.
you're addressing them, and
Correct.
at least it's a group that,
Yeah, you could add the walking trails
Yeah.
and,
I was gonna say the other
Playground.
stuff, the playground and the
you
walking
know, those
trails.
are, multi-generational use.
And where's the right place to put, the food pantry stuff, or is that later on?
I don't know. I think as a group, we're still hammering some stuff out there,
Yeah, okay.
as to where, when.
Okay.
It's in the mix, by all means, it's just where it's gonna be, and
Maybe you could add the restrooms on there. I mean, it's an outdoor facility.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not
Yeah.
supportive, but
The one thing on that slide 5, where it says Russo Complex, maybe we keep our terminology consistent and call it one thing all the way through. I like that
Yep.
intergenerational park.
cool. Anything else on that slide? So this is where I think we marry, in particular with your
Yeah.
slide, where it makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense. Make sure we got everything, especially the sizes and all that kind of stuff that we didn't. We're talking about, 2 highlights to the complex, 2 turf fields. Help meet some of the requirements for soccer, but there'll also be line for football, lacrosse, field hockey, whatever else. Soccer being the biggest playing surface out of all the sports, so anything else can fit inside. Intention is to light both fields, right, so that we can extend the playing time, especially get to now. It's dark so early, keep things going. Might be a good time to talk about too, how the lighting can be a little more specific and direct these days than in the past, and
Yeah.
not spill so much into neighbors and things like that.
Would it be helpful to add a bullet, about something around the turf fields, addressing the problem that we currently have with the water and the overuse? You think that's helpful context for people?
Why we chose turf, so to speak, versus grass.
Yeah. and what really that's helping to solve the problem, cause right now you have some fields that you really don't get to use optimally because of the
Mhm.
water issues and things like that, so is it helpful to point out that this does help to alleviate that issue?
Might be worth a bullet point under the two turf field section right at the top. there,
Yeah.
Jeff.
It's kinda where I'm
That's what I was
going, right, they
thinking.
just kinda,
Yeah.
just put maintenance in.
Just 'cause I think people might say, well, why are we gonna spend the extra money for turf, why don't you just do like, you know, it helps to put some context to the
Yeah.
maintenance and the,
Yep.
that kind of thing.
So again, the next bullet, I think we can clean up based on, again, some of the notes that were on the side.
Yeah.
But basically, complex will include walking trails, playground, grass area for young children to play in. I had added a pond for your kid to swim into, just to see if everybody
See
read
if
my
it's-
presentation.
Wading pond.
So I removed that post, but it was just a way to make sure.
People read it.
And then we can do better than some of the trails would be ADA accessible. We can come up with a better percentage there as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Just didn't know exactly what
Yeah,
it
I
was.
think
at
you
the time.
had the figures in yours, right?
Yeah, it's like.
Yeah. That's why, that, you know, we married some of the data from,
Yeah,
and you have better pictures. An outdoor basketball court, 4 more pickleball courts, restrooms and storage. And then I put, I don't even know if this is the right word, but, that one field will continue the ability for people to drive up and watch,
Mhm.
which has been a big part of Howard.
Yeah, and maybe I would just say it's a cold weather benefit,
Yeah.
right, inclement weather benefit.
yeah, that is,
You know, some people may not understand that
Tribute piece.
the tribute to
Mhm.
Howard Fields. They might be like, what's we're making a tribute to who? Like, some people haven't experienced that, you know.
Yep.
Parking.
Yeah, all right, so we'll line it up more with what David said. Cool.
pictures are just great.
Pictures. High school field, this is all my language bill. I didn't get anything or solicit anything back from Jen or anybody, so something I can probably do in the next week.
It's fine.
This was before your, you know, you've got a
Oh,
much better,
perspective.
Yeah, we'll get
you've
some
got a much
pictures
better
in
picture,
there.
Oh, yeah.
tonight than what I had last
Yeah,
week
this
when we
was
threw
the
this in.
one.
So we've got,
Back on the
Well, you got the
intergenerational
3D
part,
in there.
do we wanna say anything about the food pantry being moved into there? I mean, is that gonna be a
yeah,
plus or a minus, or a, I mean, I'm just, we can get as many votes of this as we can, whether it,
yeah, I think we're
So,
give it
we need to do something for the food pantry. It's a need and a requirement in the town to make sure that those less fortunate have a place to be able to secure food. So this is an option, but I don't wanna oversell it that it's the only option, because we are kicking around some other ideas. We met with the food pantry on Monday, and so we're trying some other ideas as well. So I think that it would be wise and transparent and honest to say that the storage space that's here may house the food pantry. But they were still trying to identify the best, what could be its best use. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a home for them as a result of this process. It's just
right,
Where?
whether it's there or somewhere else with a,
So what would we do with it if they don't use it?
Meeting room,
What's that?
meeting room, if they don't use it.
With a big full kitchen and everything, that's intended for
Well,
what's
there's no
used
kitchen there.
anyways.
It's
Did we
just
take
a
that out?
it's
Oh,
just
we
a
took that
storage
out?
area.
Okay.
yeah, it's just 750
Are you
square
saying
feet of blank
what
space.
would we do with the space if it wasn't them?
Yeah,
Put a couple basketball hoops in there.
Nerf ones.
Wishful thinking. I like it, Bill.
So, like we would always say about building a new home, no matter how many closets you build, you wish you had an extra one.
yeah,
So,
so you'd have storage.
so I think just having that additional storage meeting area, it'll get utilized one way or the other. Especially as our population continues to grow, resources for it are gonna be needed.
Yeah,
So,
And did I gloss over, did we take out the ability to just have the concession stand and stuff with the sink and all that
That was
jazz?
taken out
We took all of that out?
previously.
Okay,
yes.
sorry, spaced out on that.
But I think there might be a little discussion on that a little
Okay.
later on after we make our way through the presentation.
Okay.
So picture. So Tim at the least will get, may include space. So we can probably kill a picture, we'll get a couple extra ball field pics.
Yeah,
I got
you know what?
the kind of the ugly old one, if you will, and we got the nice new one that you
Yeah.
And back on intergenerational park, I noticed we didn't put in the building footprint. We put in the bigger building footprint at the end, in ours. But we should probably add that in, just
Okay.
so, because the conversation you guys were just having reminded me of that,
Yeah, where the
It's
indoor
not in there.
slide 16 you're talking about, the
Oh, it's
indoor
in there?
gym,
Oh, that's the indoor building.
but
Yeah,
it's
that's
small.
the
I mean, I
big
get
buil-
what you're saying
building.
because they are small. I don't know if we want to have. I mean, I'm okay doing it this way, not having 4 slides for something we're probably not going to do. But
Yep.
I didn't
Well,
know
I
if
think-
that's what you were looking for.
I think it's at the town meeting, right? We can certainly, assuming we're projecting onto the stage, we can certainly include an addendum
Right.
kind of after the fact, so that if it becomes a bigger topic, we can scroll down and get the
Mhm.
full size, but otherwise,
Yeah, we will be projecting.
Noticing on your problems page, there's no tennis listed in your spreadsheet. If you're gonna be putting another tennis court up there,
this is why we invite.
you're gonna wanna have that number, otherwise they're gonna say, let's put a basketball court instead of a tennis court.
Well, I guess the argument
There's
to
one
it though
basketball.
too is that when the tennis courts were built, they needed to be built with 5 courts because that's regulation, and it's not that it's growing; it's just a necessity because they weren't built right in the first place. But I'm not disagreeing with you.
So I think that's a good idea from Tim, because quite frankly, tennis and pickleball, because this right now is talking about children, but ultimately, we're really talking about users.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's clear, like field hockey, 0 not offered. We can put pickleball, 0 not offered.
That's what I was
Yeah.
Yep.
Good.
Yeah.
Pickleball's not far off from the MIA either.
No.
Tom
Yeah.
Brady owns a franchise, it's
Yeah, I
coming.
just heard that
Yeah,
at
MIA.
a meeting, I
Yep.
heard that MIA is considering it.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those weird sports of the MIA. There's ultimate
Yeah.
frisbee, there's
Yeah.
rugby that you don't realize. There's a lot of
Ultimate.
sports that are offered MIA wise.
So are we saying that we don't offer tennis today?
At the high school level, we do, but that original piece
Oh,
came
I
from
see.
Greg, where it's not at the youth piece,
Got it.
but we should add it.
I mean, is that public information enough that you could add it to the presentation that pickleball might be MIAA or not worth going
Nothing
there
with them.
yet?
I would never.
I mean, are we should build a pickleball
Put your
courts?
name on it?
Yeah.
Bill just signed up
You
high
wouldn't put
school
your
in
name
a
on it?
sport
Yeah. No,
without
but
Jen
you're the
being
second,
here.
you're the second.
No,
AD
it
that
is
just
coming.
told me that.
There's enough movement. I mean, you go to the high school. The high school here, they do a pickleball tournament.
Yeah,
So it is. It's available. The kids are doing it in gym class or whatever.
yeah.
It's not too far away before it
It's not
does
too
happen.
Yeah, up in Hingham, he said the same thing
Mhm.
last week at the meeting. It's like,
Right.
wow.
No, that's what I'm the 8 fields is what we have for space and whatnot, but I'm not sure 8 fields is big enough in a few years. The good news is it's relatively easy to add, I would think, if we need to down the road, but I know 4 would be short, hopefully 8 serves us for a while.
Yeah.
So do we need 5 pickleball courts for?
Yeah, I was just
high
gonna
school?
say the same.
I don't know how many they're gonna require.
Regulation.
You're onto something.
I know you might be.
And you wanna put them with the turf baseball?
Could add one.
Yeah. So moving on to the slide, and again, this isn't from Jen, I have not met with Jen. Jen's been incredibly busy every time I see her. A lot of home games in the last couple of weeks, and homecoming and all that good stuff, so. And she's working tonight for the record. So these are my words more than the schools, and wanna obviously get this by the school, but then anybody else that has any comments will of course take them. Current baseball field obviously has drainage issues, as well as overall, I think, maintenance issues, for lack of a better. It just, I don't think there was enough of anything put underneath as it was built, and, they just fixed the the infield, and it hardly looks like it was, you know, I mean, there's just weed after weed coming back up again, so.
So would this be, do we need to add field hockey here as well, or is that not the right spot?
Well, this is high school, they do offer field hockey already.
They do,
So it'd
alright.
be more on
Okay.
the youth level.
So
potentially
where it
for
says
field
not
hockey.
offered, it's on the youth level?
Right, correct.
So, and then again, I put the outfield with the proper surface will serve as an additional practice field. This will allow for practice, you know, time for teams that currently use the turf field. We had a discussion earlier about football and sharing with field hockey or sharing with youth. Like, it should give everybody adequate time to practice. Not only practice, but, you know, the turf field will always be the centerpiece for games, so that if you know, we've had, as the season goes on, soccer games tend to move from Howard to the turf, as Howard can't stay above water, literally. And then what happens is it displaces the other teams that were going to practice that day. So this field will serve a great purpose for that, as well. And then also, speaking of Mr. Bodwell, he was talking about could also just be used during the day for different gym activities and different activities with the school. Again, it doesn't matter. We were, last Thursday, it rained all day, and 2 hours after it rained, there was a full soccer game going on the turf field. Like, it doesn't matter, you know, once you get that surface down.
Do you
The
wanna add
drainage
in-
is fantastic.
Do you wanna add in the lights there?
Are they in the proposal now?
Yeah, I don't think they were.
That was just at our other meeting, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was
No,
at
I
our
thought,
sub- we met and discussed it, and we were
Yeah.
talking about, based on the cost, does it make sense to add lights there?
Oh, okay. So that was after our last meeting.
Correct, yeah, it was a subcommittee, and we were looking at the price sheet.
yeah, we had
And
the
off the
price.
top of my head, I wanna say it was like
Yeah.
250,000 or so.
Mm-hmm.
And we were thinking maybe it makes sense, because
Yeah.
obviously you just expand so much more time of usage.
Yeah. It'd probably be a little more for a full-size baseball field like that, because you're gonna have 6 poles,
Just 4.
so it's probably 350
$350,000 to light it?
for for the baseball field. We just did one. I'd have to go back and look at the cost we got. We're doing one up in Nichols College with lights, but it's definitely 6 poles.
Makes sense with the additional space.
Yeah.
Bill, outdoor track, do they use the fields there at the high school, or do they use them elsewhere as well?
Winter track?
Oh,
some
no,
outdoor-
spring track,
spring
right?
does.
Spring track is mainly at the high school, because there's a shot put pit out behind the turf field. They throw the javelin now on the baseball field, on the outfield of the baseball field.
Okay, alright,
Yeah, that's the only, discus, I believe, is on the outfield of the baseball field as well.
Just Jeff, just before you go on, I need to leave at 6:45 for another meeting, so
Okay.
just don't wanna abruptly run out.
No, cool. So these were just 2 sports that I've heard Jen mention, but those shouldn't reflect the opinion of the high school, right?
Right.
We gotta put something in there.
Yep.
Those were a couple of pictures on court improvement. Talk about court improvements at the Howard and COA, Council on Aging, right? Redoing the basketball field that's existing, adding the 4 pickleball courts over by the COA. Much better picture. Thank you again. So we talk about it, Howard School replaced the existing basketball court. It's in rough shape. It's in need of new hoops and a new surface, so stay in the same footprint, but fully upgraded. Council on Aging, create 4 pickleball courts to the north of the current
We
building.
could add on the basketball court.
Yep.
Right now, it's not like a recreational side. We are expanding it a little bit to make it a recreational size basketball court.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Council on Aging, the 4 pickleball courts to the north. The high school, we're gonna add the 1 tennis court alongside the existing courts. Just a note for kind of what we're talking about ahead of a little while ago, Tim. High school tennis consists of 5 matches, we only have 4 courts. I don't understand how that happened, but there's no point looking backward, because I was there as well. But I didn't have anybody playing tennis at the time. Add one full-size basketball court behind the high school. There is no full-size court in town, period, right now, so, that would be the spot. I brought up indoor basketball because I think we have to. You know, and this is obviously, these are, the committees, the subcommittees group, but, if any doesn't, these are just kind of what we developed for reasons as to why we didn't move forward, but that would obviously be something we want the whole committee to chime in on. But we identified the need for better basketball facilities. We went, we moved ahead an original proposal that had a building with 2 indoor courts. The courts could have been used for basketball, pickleball, whatever, could have been lined a million different ways. But we removed this building from the proposal as the cost estimate was roughly around $9 million. And it basically doubled the cost of the project. And we didn't think it was fiscally responsible at the time to move forward with a project that was twice as high as where we thought it would be. So I don't know if anybody has any other wording or inputs or anything else on that. But
I thought it was a good summary.
that is,
I
Yep.
think you did a good job.
that is what it's it, and we put the plans down low just to prove to everybody that we meant it,
Mhm.
And I think that'll be a big discussion on that night, or potentially a big discussion on that night, and we will, I guess to your point, based on the feedback, we can,
We might even do it, all vote, there's no intent to take a vote there at all that evening. Or maybe we do take a straw poll and just say, who would like it, this is what it's gonna cost, and we see a majority of the hands go up, and we know what direction to go to.
then the next slide, we had costs.
Yeah,
Um,
I would do the Rousseau intergenerational park there, just as a heading, just for
Thank you, Jan.
consistency.
And I'd probably round that, the cost.
Yeah.
At what level?
Why you don't think it's gonna-
750 maybe.
You don't think it's
Sure.
gonna come to exactly 7?
I'd say
72 cents?
750,
That's pretty exact.
8,750,000. Get a
Chicken.
few bonus bucks in there.
All right. So obviously the park, the cost is there, it'd be a 2/3 vote, and the borrowing item, got a little bit more on that in terms of, talked about the length, right, of each item, we're gonna include that. Here, I guess it's on the tax
Oh.
piece.
It is, that's where I put it, we can
Okay.
put it wherever you.
No, it's fine there.
Will the accountant be able to be there that night?
Yep.
Perfect.
And then the courts. So those are the costs.
On the high school baseball field, we'll
Mhm.
have to add the cost for the lighting.
So that's really more 2 million, right?
I'll get you a price on that too. So you can do.
The next slide is new, but very helpful. And that is an estimate that CHA was able to get for us, that it's an estimate on what it costs for the turf field, maintenance on the turf field on an annual basis.
Yeah, and this is just the 2 fields at intergenerational.
Yep.
So you probably add like 11 for the high school field.
We're already
Question?
doing it at the high school, so it would be
Right.
just an extension of
Absorbed,
what we're
right.
already doing.
Oh, yeah, the maintenance
Yeah,
there.
we're already
Yeah,
doing the
yeah.
maintenance.
Question on the turf fields. In the estimate, does that include the machine to sweep them and,
This is them doing it.
okay.
Like, this is if you hired the outside company to do it for the year.
And what does a machine cost? Do you have any sort of indication on what those go
They
for?
range, I've been hearing,
50 grand?
4,000,
Oh.
10,000.
I was gonna say, it's gonna be more than the
I'll sell
21.
you
It
one.
depends what you need,
If
yeah.
they
Yeah.
can, I'll sell
I
it.
mean, the groomer, like the brooms, you can get an attachment for for a maintenance tractor, or a gator. But, those are just for your routine maintenance. The machines to do the decompaction and things like that, those are more expensive.
And do those machines have a long shelf life?
I don't know,
I figured it would be more
Maybe
than what
like
this
a
would cost.
similar to a mower probably.
That's why I said 50.
Well,
This is per year though, right?
that's per year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does the high school already have one of those?
Yes, well, we have the tractor, but we have all the attachments.
So you do all this yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Glenn, I just
Just
wondered
got done the other day.
between our two groups,
Does anybody wanna
Yeah,
look
when we
at
were
it?
there.
Yeah.
like chipping in as well, like defray some of the costs, cause we cover some of our own costs, at least with the ball fields, we do cover a lot of the costs and we split with the town depending on.
Oh, as far as this is concerned?
Yeah, I mean, we
Yeah.
might be able to help out with this as well, to defray some costs.
Yeah, I mean,
Just
if
a thought. I
the
don't know
way
what
to
that
go,
number is, but if we're
If
not
the way to
buying
go is-
equipment,
yeah.
right, cause I
I'm-
mean, we're lining fields and buying paint for fields and it's very time consuming, obviously, but,
all that
you know,
goes away.
that goes away, yeah.
When we were at the school, I was being told it was like 3 hours or so. So if, you know, if we bought the machine, we have storage there. If the two of your groups were able to just run the machine the hours it's needed, 3 hours at a time, and then we could have DPW handle like the trash, you know, the outdoor trash, because we gotta do that over here. You know, just you do a little, we do a little.
I would advocate for buying at least 2 machines though, at least one for each field, because then it would take less time, cause you
Sure.
have multiple people doing it, depending on what the
Mhm.
cost is. I mean, if it is, call it even 7,500, I mean,
Yeah.
it pays itself, I mean, compared to this, it's still less than 1 year.
Yeah.
A lot of times we spec it in the project, it's up to you guys though. You know,
You just throw it in?
you throw it in the spec bid, and then it's,
Tuck that
it's
in.
watching the big,
That's
big
right.
picture, but.
But that is something to consider
It
as well.
depends.
We're
It's a
definitely-
town
I mean,
choice.
It's I mean, even if we're the ones operating the machine, it's still less work than on the line fields. That is just a killer, and I mean, that's 2
Yeah.
hours minimum, sometimes more.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
And then having to redo it and everything else, so.
yeah.
So this is only done 6 times a year though? Does
Yeah.
the high school get done more than
During the fall, it should be done twice a month.
twice a month?
It depends on usage. I mean, we're out every day, there's multiple teams on it every day, so
Yeah.
it should gets done twice a month during the fall. The spring probably doesn't need it as much because it's really only the track kids in the gym class out
Yeah.
there so often, but it should be done probably once a month in the spring.
When you got to think too, twice a month. I mean, we don't know how much usage on a daily basis. I mean, I thought 6 too when I saw that, Chris, but you gotta consider also too, there's a chunk of the year where they're not being used at all.
You wanna keep those pellets or whatever we're gonna use, they're moving and,
Right.
you know, not so that they get
Right.
compressed down.
Yeah.
Some of these new fields have wood chips in them instead of
I
rubber.
saw that,
Different
when we got
things,
some of the
yeah.
proposals, it's crazy.
Yep. So, tax implications. They're straightforward, so to speak.
So, we don't have the thing about governance, right? So, did we say we were gonna add something? Or do we need to deal with that later, or is that gotta be part of this?
I don't think it's gonna be part of this. I mean, I don't think we should spend very much time on it unless this
Okay.
happens.
Yeah,
You know, I'd rather
Right.
put our energy into what we can do to get, obviously, as much knowledge in the hand of our residents and voters and then understanding that, you know, there has to be some form of governance, and
okay,
if it's this committee coming up with that, we can do that while bidding's going on and other things are happening. But we have to come up with a way to break a tie and all those other kind of things, as far as who gets what and when.
Mhm.
So Glenn can't put his pads on and just charge out there and take it.
Yeah.
And then I guess, I could add on, but on slide 20 with key dates, was that what you were thinking about putting post-vote as well, or was that a separate slide in terms of timeline?
Yeah, that was a brilliant idea that I read here. But yeah, maybe we can just keep this going, or depending on
Yeah.
how long it is.
Yeah.
So if we could do this, Mike, could I send you this PowerPoint? And that way you can incorporate your pictures and some of the information we've collected. And then send it back out, and then we'll send it off to the 4 of us that worked on it and tweak it as we need to, but you can put in, you have better pictures.
Okay. Do you want me to keep the border we set up on this one?
I mean,
'Cause if you send me that, I could just copy that,
Doesn't matter.
paste them in.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
comfortable with that.
Yeah,
I don't love any of
You
them,
wanna-
so.
I don't, yeah, I have no preference as far as borders go.
You
so
wanna make
I-
the edits that you just took notes
Yep.
on, and then, okay.
Yeah, I'll get that done
Send it.
tomorrow.
And you need this
Right.
you need this wrapped up by the second, is that?
Well, we're gonna go,
November second is
So the second is good, this will be part of the presentation to the selectmen on the second, so that's,
yeah, okay. So that's next
Says to the
Wednesday.
town,
Wednesday.
it's to
It's
the
1 week,
selectmen.
okay. Yeah, 1 week.
Alright, I gotta go.
thank you, Greg. Enjoy your meeting.
See you guys, I'll see you there in a little bit.
Yep, I'll be right there.
Take care.
Thanks,
Thank-
great job, guys.
Thank
See you
you.
later.
I gotta run too with him, so.
All right.
Thank you.
My last official YA meeting.
That's what you
Bye,
said
bye.
10 years ago.
Bye, Glenn.
I know. Yeah, I did, actually, quite a few
Yeah.
times. Alright, see you guys.
See you later.
Thank you,
Bye.
Glenn.
Take care.
So as far as next week in the selectmen, do we want the whole group there? We just want a few people there?
I think it's key to make sure that the handful of, you and one or two others that can make the presentation. Anthony's already gonna be sitting as the board, so he'll fill in where he needs to, but as you basically as vice chair, I think you make the presentation. A couple of people should probably be there with you at a minimum, but it's an open meeting, so everybody who wants to be there can be.
Sorry, when is that?
Next Wednesday,
Wednesday? At what time?
A second.
the meeting starts at 6:30. We haven't solidified a time yet for this presentation. I gotta see what else is on the agenda, but,
Okay.
Probably do it at 6:45.
6:45, probably about 6:45. Obviously I'm already gonna be there, Anthony's already gonna be there.
Okay. Anybody's
Okay.
welcome, right?
And
But-
you need us there for that?
I think it would be wise.
Yeah, okay.
That way if there's
If they have
technical questions
Yeah.
or, the reality is this should also always be, a living document.
Yeah,
So we're gonna collect some information that night, and you might have to reincorporate it, because really the
Yeah.
next message is gonna be to the public hearing on November 14th.
mhm.
So we may collect something there that night, incorporate into the next PowerPoint for the next meeting.
For that 14th, yeah.
Was there any
Okay.
feedback? I saw this out on social media the other day. Was there any feedback on that? Has anybody heard? I was thinking this whole presentation was on social media the other day.
I know Greg had posted a couple of pictures.
Yeah, it was on, what is it, Buzz Around Bridgewater?
Yeah, it
or
was on
Okay.
something, I
It
had
was
a
buzz-
contractor
yeah,
call me already and
yeah.
ask me about it.
It was,
The only feedback that I've seen so far, again, was Greg had posted, I think, as YAA, just to let people know it's coming, and, it was questions on basketball more than anything else.
good.
So
Good.
when was the, hearing, sorry, the public?
Monday, November
The-
14th.
The 14th.
So that'll be at the high school. We're looking at 7:00 that evening. So I envision that what we would do is that we'd probably set up the stage where the whole committee would be up there. We'll do a PowerPoint presentation again, this presentation. And then we'll have to have lead speakers for, I would think that we would break it up by section. So, the youth sports gentlemen, Greg and Glenn, probably should take some of that. Jeff should take some of that. The high school, whether it's Bill and or Jen, you guys take part of that. And then between Scott, Kathy, and myself, we can talk about the tax implications and the cost and how that works.
This Buzz Around thing.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
And what was the top, your vote? Or is that-
Your voice, your vote, registered, it's just a registered vote, Secretary of State. It's an
That's an ad.
advertising, and then it's the
Okay.
picture and the proposed multi-generation, generational park.
Yeah, it's the one without the building, right, I hope?
It is the one without the building. It says view all meetings on the webcam, on WB Cam and
Yeah.
WBYA Facebook post page.
Good.
Oh,
That's
great.
Yep. Super. So at this point, we are leaving a little bit hanging with the food pantry, but we are conceptually working through some things, but it would be wrong to speak of them on camera at this point in this time in this meeting without
Right.
parties, all parties even knowing, as we just got together with them on Monday. But our intention is, to find a home for them as part of this process. We're committed to that part. So,
Great.
presentations are good. Anything else between now and next Wednesday? We will, obviously, I'll get a version of this presentation done by the weekend. Well, I'll get it to you guys, and then as soon as we get it back, we can share it. Just don't comment, right? Back on the email.
Was there a slide that actually showed the building that had the restrooms and that stuff?
Yeah.
Small.
Was it?
Oh, no, not the smaller building. That's
Oh,
what I
no, the
was,
small
that's what I
one.
was saying, we need to add that in.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'll add that in.
Okay, great. The discussion on the, a quick discussion, unfortunately, those guys had a youth meeting, is, does it make sense on that building, I thought we were done, I know we're done and all this other stuff, but on that small building that exists, does it make sense for some sort of snack concession, maybe not, cook a burger, steak, a dog kind of thing, but just,
It's easy to do a grab and go, with a window and some fridges, refrigerators, things like that.
That's what was
So
just-
Yeah,
That's a little
I think
easier
I
to
missed
do
that we
than-
pulled that out.
Yeah, then a cooking concession, or any food prep.
yeah.
Once you get into the food prep, that
That's
that
where
adds
the
to the
cost
cost
comes.
Do they have any of that equipment here? There used to be equipment in this building right here.
So in the white building, there's plenty of food prep.
Yeah, that's,
Um,
do they
but
even
as
use
I-
that anymore, or it's basically?
They do use
Oh.
it. As I look at it, and it just, kind of hit in conversation today, especially when you go to the 450 soccer
Mhm.
and a lot less, half a quarter of that
Yeah.
for baseball, put softball, get a little more. But if I were one of them, giving the opportunity to put a snack bar somewhere, I'd want to
Mhm.
put it next to the,
Well, I know the
The
discussion,
450.
Glenn was real happy with the food truck type of
Yeah.
thing.
Yep.
Because
I was just
that
gonna say
was,
that.
with football, I guess it's been a big hit.
yeah, and I know it's a significant challenge to get people to cook in
Mhm.
this building
Yeah.
often.
Mhm.
But I don't, as boosters,
You see the challenge getting people there when their kids aren't playing.
yeah,
It's
the
difficult
boosters
too.
isn't as bad, only because we don't have football as its own, the gridiron piece, so it's easy for us to cover football games
Mhm.
where it's a little harder when soccer and all those others are going on, because then it's our parents are there as well. But we're just, we're doing simple snacks, buying pizza
Mhm.
from, in this case, Gigi's makes us an offer we can't refuse, and we
Good.
sell the pizza from there,
Yeah.
but I mean, some type, and it's really, to your point, grab and go, and it works, and it's a
Kids
source
can
of
eat.
revenue. It's
And
an
kids
easy,
can eat.
yeah, oh yeah,
On one of the footprints of the building, you had a dotted line with additional storage that could be added at a later date.
Yeah, I think we did
Do you
on
know-
the smaller building.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
correct. Do you know, one, what square footage that was, and two, maybe you could look at what the cost difference would be to add
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, we could do that.
Because maybe that would be a perfect grab and go place.
yeah, I
We
think
could
it's,
work with Carl on that.
it's a reach-in refrigerator or small freezer for, ice cream sandwiches kind of thing, and,
And have like a couple of windows or something?
yeah, a couple of windows and
Yeah,
some
yeah.
shelving for candy and.
Enough power for like a pretzel
Yep.
machine or something like that.
Yeah, there's a hot dog machine that
Hot dog.
gets shared
Yeah.
between youth and
Mhm.
boosters, so nothing crazy.
Yeah, that's probably all you need,
Well.
right? Especially if you're doing,
And then a lot of
the
plugs
trucks,
for
the food
hot
trucks.
chocolate, water heating,
Yeah.
that seems to be a big need. So I think there's an opportunity there to generate some revenue, especially if we
Yeah.
look at this down the road for tournaments and things along those lines where, we can, then we've got a captive audience for a day or so and generate some more money that way. So. In addition, along those lines, we had conversations about their different soccer, teams or groups, whatever you wanna call, and there's probably, there might be some opportunity in the summer when the fields aren't being used as much to reach out to them for places to play and practice, so
Mhm.
we're thinking.
Yeah, you can get some lacrosse camps going there or
Yep.
things like that, field hockey camps.
Yeah, and Jen was saying,
Football.
she's got people calling, looking for baseball field and other things, so.
Hmm.
Once we get going, you know, to offset some of these costs, I think there's an opportunity for some revenue. We'll see once we get there. Anything else from anybody else at this point in time? All right. Take a motion to adjourn then.
Moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.